let's make an easy and crazy good cherry crumble. Just look at that bubbly goodness. Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make a delicious cherry crumble. Yes, a fantastic dessert that's easy to make, and we're going to be taking advantage of the fact that right now cherries are in season. So we're going to be using fresh cherries, but of course you could also make this crumble using frozen cherries that you've thawed, or even a pie filling. But it is so much better when we use fresh cherries because we're going to create an amazing filling, and then we're going to make a crumble topping. So why is this a crumble as opposed to a crisp or a cobbler? So when I make a cobbler, I like to use self-rising flour, and then with the butter and the rest of the ingredients like a syrupy base, it comes out almost cake-like. But in the case of a crumble, we're going to make our filling, and then we're going to create a crispy topping that we put on top. And why is it a crumble and not a crisp? Because we're not adding oats. In this case, it's a flour and butter mixture, and believe me, those cherries and that butter and that crispy topping, So I am super excited to teach you how to make it. So let's not wait another second, and let's get started. For the cherry filling part of today's recipe, you will need 2 pounds of cherries. I'm using fresh cherries, and I will remove the pits from those cherries. You'll need the juice and zest of half of a medium-sized lemon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1 1/4 cups of water, and optionally, 1/4 cup of sugar, but only if the cherries are very tart. I'm actually not adding any sugar to my cherry filling, but that is totally up to you. You can add some if you'd like. And you'll need some non-stick cooking spray. And for the crumble topping part of today's recipe, you will need 1 stick, in other words, 8 tablespoons of salted butter, 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, 4 tablespoons of sugar, 4 tablespoons of dark brown sugar, and 1 cup of all-purpose flour. You will also need some oven mitts, a lemon zester, a knife, a serving spoon, some measuring spoons, some dry measuring cups, a wet measuring cup, a large, medium, and small bowl, a colander, a 9x13 baking dish, and I'm using a cherry pitter tool. Super handy, makes the job really easy, and it's really just super convenient when using fresh cherries. It's also great to remove the pits out of olives. So I've added that to my Sally, that girl in the kitchen Amazon store. In case you're interested in it, you can find it there. And I'll also be using my lemon squeezer, but of course you can squeeze your lemon by hand. And I'm also using my trusty fork, which is basically a serving fork. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is grab your colander and add into your colander your 2 pounds of fresh cherries. And then just run some cool water over them. You just want to rinse them well. I always like to wash my fruit before I consume it, so you're just going to rinse it really well and then just shake off the excess water and you're good to go. Now I just grab my cherry pitter tool and a small bowl, because I want a small bowl for the pits and the stems. So of course I remove the stem, and then I just place my cherry into my little pitter tool, and then I just press. Out comes the pit, and now I grab my cherries and I add them into a large bowl. And once you remove your stem and add your cherry into the tool, you really don't even have to get any cherry juice on your fingers, because once you press that pit right out, you could just roll it right into your bowl until you've removed the pits from all 2 pounds of cherries. Then I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 350 degrees, making sure I have a rack placed in the center. And then I'm going to cut my lemon. I'm using a medium lemon, but I only want half of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze the juice. I'm using just a small little bowl to put the juice in it. And then I like to squeeze it one way and then flip my lemon and squeeze it again the other way, because I think I get the most juice out of it this way. There's lots of juice in this half a lemon, and this is going to balance out the sweetness of the dish because these cherries are naturally quite sweet. And of course, if they're tart, then you'd be adding in sugar, and our topping, our crumble topping, also has sugar in it. So of course you want a nice balance of flavors. So I'm removing the outer layer, only the yellow part, and then I'm going to add that delicious zest and the juice of that half a lemon into my cherries to really create a complexity of flavors. Now, you can do this right over your cherries if you like, but I like to do it separate because sometimes, you could have a random little pit from your lemon, and we don't want that as a surprise. So I've added my lemon zest. I'm adding in 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now, the salt is going to help, again, balance all of these flavors, and the cornstarch will help, and it will become a thickener because you don't want a runny filling. You want a nice, thick, delicious filling. So now, once that's in, then I'm going to go ahead and add in that juice from my half a lemon, and I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. We're building a flavor. Now, if your cherries were tart, this is where you'd be adding in 1/4 cup of sugar, or really sugar to taste. And now you'll add in 1 1/4 cups of water. Now, the natural pectin found in the cherries, along with the cornstarch and the water, will really help thicken the mixture up when we bake it. So that's why we add the cornstarch along with the natural pectin in the cherries and the acid from the lemon. All of that is going to make an incredible, yummy, thick mixture. As this bakes, it's going to be delicious, and it's going to give it an incredible texture. And as I said earlier, I didn't add any sugar at all because these cherries are super ripe and super sweet. So when we bake them with those aromatics, that lemon peel, that touch of lemon, the vanilla, it's going to have incredible flavor without added sugar. Of course, if yours were tart, then please add sugar, but mine were absolutely sweet and perfect. So now we're going to set this bowl aside for just a moment, and we're going to grab a medium bowl and we're going to start preparing our crumble topping. So we're adding 1 stick. I'm using salted butter. You can use unsalted and then add butter yourself, but I like to bake with salted butter. And I melt it in the microwave for about a minute. And now I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, also optional if you don't care for cinnamon, but I love it in this dish. Then 4 tablespoons of sugar. This is just regular white sugar. And then 4 tablespoons of dark brown sugar. And then we welcome in my trusty fork. This is just a kitchen serving fork, which is super handy. And so all you're going to do is you're going to combine these ingredients just a bit. It doesn't have to be perfectly combined. You just want to break up any clumps that may have formed when adding in those dry ingredients into that melted butter. And then once you've combined it, then what we're going to do is we're going to add in some all-purpose flour. So I'm using 1 cup, but I'm going to add in about half of it before I add in the rest, because what I'm going to do is once I sprinkle in that first 1/2 cup, then I'm just going to use my trusty fork and I'm going to continue to stir, and you're going to notice that the mixture starts to thicken. So once it thickens up just a bit, then you can come on in with the other half of that cup of all-purpose flour and sprinkle that in. And then you're going to notice a transformation. You're going to continue to stir, but what's going to happen is some pebbles are going to start to form, and that's exactly what we want. You see how I'm using my fork and just moving it side to side and in a circular motion and just scraping off any dry flour that is clinging to the sides of the bowl. And then that mixture is getting quite thick, but it's going to also become pebbly, almost like what I like to call sandy pebbles. So you see how I use my fork just back and forth. I'm scraping off the bowl, and in a matter of a moment, I've got this thick, sandy mixture. And you see how I use that fork to just break it up. I don't want any huge clumps. You see how it tends to clump up. So you use the side of your fork to break down those clumps and form your pebbles. You're just kind of cutting through the mixture to create those little pebbles that we're looking for as our delicious topping for our cherry crumble. So you'll remember in my case, I didn't add any sugar into my cherries, into my filling, because I am going to be topping it after all with this crumble, and there's plenty of sugar in the crumble to balance out that tartness that I'm getting in the cherries. And as I said, my cherries were quite sweet, so it's a really nice combination of the tartness that comes naturally in the cherries, plus a bit of lemon and lemon zest, and this delicious sweet crumble that we're adding on top, which is why I don't personally add sugar into the cherries unless they are extremely tart, because this will just balance everything up. It's going to be absolutely delicious. So now my crumbles are ready. I'm going to grab a rectangular 9x13 baking dish, and I'm going to give it a nice spray of non-stick cooking spray. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my beautiful bowl filled with my cherry filling, and I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to gently pour this whole bowl in. Now, don't be afraid of the fact that it looks so completely liquidy. It looks like a cherry soup. But I promise you, we've added that cornstarch. It's going to work beautifully. It's going to thicken this up. Look at how gorgeous those cherries are. I like to just remove the pits and leave them whole. You can cut them in halves or quarters if you'd like, but I just love how it looks just like this. And then as you can see, I just grab my fork, once again, my beautiful trusty fork, and I sprinkle this crumble topping all over the top of these cherries. So what's going to happen is as this bakes, some of that butter from this crumble is just going to seep into that cherry filling, and it's just going to be a delectable combination of flavors. The crumble is going to get a bit crispy up on top. It's going to get golden and absolutely delicious. And of course, it's buttery. How could you go wrong with the delicious buttery topping with the sugar and the vanilla? All of those flavors, those beautiful aromatics are going to come together. And of course, the star of the show, the cherries. It's going to be absolutely delicious by itself, or served with some vanilla ice cream or with some whipped topping. However you serve it, it's going to be so, so tasty, and warm out of the oven even more so. Look at how gorgeous this looks, and we haven't even baked it yet. It's just such a beautiful dessert and easy. You saw how easy it was to put together. And wait till you smell this as it bakes. So we're going to pop it on a center rack in our hot oven, and we're going to set a 40-minute timer. And after 40 minutes, we're going to carefully, using our oven mitts, bring it out and just look at those bubbles. It smells amazing. It looks spectacular. The flavors are perfectly balanced. That combination of sweet and tart, that touch of vanilla, that lemon, all of it amazing. Let's see if you can hear it. The oven was cooling in the background, so sometimes it's hard to hear, but that sizzling, that little bubbling going on, so incredibly delicious. It's formed this just thick cherry filling, absolutely phenomenal. And of course, that crumble topping with that touch of cinnamon, the flavors, oh my goodness, I can't wait. And the aroma is intoxicating between that touch of cinnamon and the vanilla and the lemon and of course the cherries, all of it together. And the butter, the smells are incredible. Everyone is going to flock over to the kitchen to want to try it. And of course, lucky me, I get to taste it. I just cannot wait to try it. I'm trying to get a little bit of that crumble and plenty of that cherry. and I just want the perfect bite. And as I said, you can serve this alone. You can serve it over vanilla ice cream. You can serve it with whipped topping, which I love, a little bit of Cool Whip on the side. So good, no matter how you serve it. It's tasty, delicious, easy, and homemade with love. You cannot beat it. So I'm just gonna add a little sprig of mint just to make it look extra pretty. Not that it needs it, because it's gorgeous. And I mean, really, it's still warm, and I am salivating, or salivating as I like to say. Okay, lucky me, I'm gonna take a bite. And of course, I need to get that perfect bite. I need to get cherry. I need to get some of that delicious crumble topping. Goodness, I cannot wait. Look at how beautiful, how red that is. It's just phenomenal. It just looks so beautiful. And the flavor does not disappoint. You feel that buttery, crispy crumble topping, and you get that slight tartness from that cherry filling all together. The little notes of vanilla and lemon, just all of it together are just so pleasing, so absolutely delicious. I am in love with this dish. It's so good. I could sit here and eat this all day long, but I shouldn't, of course, but it looks so good and tastes so good. That it is so inviting, super tasty, super easy. You're going to love it. So how crazy good does this cherry crumble look? I told you it was going to be delicious, and it's so beautiful and inviting with that bright red color and those fresh cherries. Over the top, not to mention that crispy topping. So delicious and easy to make. And as I said earlier, you can serve it alone because it's perfect, but it's not too sweet. So you can serve it with some vanilla ice cream or some whipped topping. And it is a perfect dessert for any time. Trust me. No, better yet, don't trust me. You're gonna have to try to make this recipe yourself. And of course, if you've enjoyed today's recipe, don't forget to like it, to write a sweet comment, to share it with your friends. Just make sure you're following Sally That Girl in the Kitchen here on YouTube. And of course, subscribe so that you don't miss any of these beautiful recipes that I'm putting out all of the time for you. And of course, if you're not following me on social media, be sure to follow me as Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and on Pinterest, and as Sally That Girl FL on Twitter, Snapchat, and on TikTok. And that way, if you ever have any questions for me, you can shoot me a message through my Facebook or Instagram pages, and you can even find links to my Amazon store and different things pinned at the top of my Facebook page, my Instagram page, and to my YouTube channel. Now, even on a mobile device, all of my links are there. But of course, if you can find something, then just shoot me a message and I'll definitely share it with you. So I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for supporting me, for watching, for always being there, and I'll see you next time. Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.